Hi there, welcome back to the Stonksy Indicator channel. My name is Save with Crypto and I do daily live streams and videos with Dave here on the Stonksy Indicator channel. So please do make sure that you are subscribed and you've got the notifications set to all. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit more about the Stonksy bot. And first of all, just going to have a quick look at the price of Bitcoin. So since kind of January, really, I've been looking at this line of resistance here, this green one here, and we've been sort of bashing against it all the way until about the 11th of April, I would say, and there we broke through it. I mean, actually, in fact, the price of Bitcoin did this really lovely double bottom there, which is a very bullish reversal signal, and up we came. Now, since we broke through that, we haven't done what I expected, which is to bounce off into space and go back up to 100k. What in actual fact it's doing is it seems to be developing another line of resistance here, which I suspect we might sort of stay in for a little while and then eventually break out. So meanwhile, the Stonksy bot has gone short. Okay, now I just want to show you that in two ways. First of all, here on a browser, and secondly on my phone. Now, the reason for the video is to show you that there are some strange peculiarities and differences between the app and the browser version here. So let's take a look. And once you're here, if you go to copy trading, you can go to all traders, and then you can go to my copies here, and that will show you the current bot position of the Stonksy bot if you've got one running. If you haven't got one running, please do look at our other videos about how to set up the bot and the different kinds of bots there are. At the moment, there's a low frequency bot and a high frequency bot. The high frequency one is the most popular because it's a bit more interesting and it is making more money than a low frequency one at the moment. So I think that's why it's popular. I've only got a small position here. I started off with 250 USDT about 2.5 weeks ago, and it's now up to about 273. So we're not doing too bad. This has been over $300, but unfortunately there was a bit of a loss a couple of days ago, so that pushed us back below 300 again. But hopefully we'll make up for that very soon. Okay, so the current position is short. Now when you're down here, please do note that this is a sliding thing here, and you can come over here and you can see your profit and loss. So currently 4% in profit, $11. Got a realized loss of 136, which is to do with the fees when you open the trade. And the only options you have here to close the trade is close all. Now over on the phone, which I'll show you in a moment, there is also the option to do a close as well as a close all, which can close a partial position. Now I've already done a video about that, so please do watch that one if you need to know more about closing partial positions with the bot, because at the moment you can't do that on the browser version. You can only do it on the app. However, what I wanted to talk about today was setting a stop loss, because when you set the bot up, you have these settings here if you're using the traditional setting. Now Dave's done a video as well about the difference between smart copy and traditional. Now I always use traditional because I always want to make the amount I'm trading with to be pretty much equal to the amount I've got in the account, and I'll probably do that manually once a week or so. Also in traditional settings you can set your own leverage. I go quite risky and I push mine up to 10. I wouldn't suggest that if you don't know what you're doing. By default it's at 3, so maybe like 3 to 5 is much more safer. But because I'm only trading with a small amount, I am taking a bit of a risk there. That said, if a trade starts going badly, the bot is actually very good at closing the position. It will make a small loss, but the losses are generally quite small. And overall, there are more gains than losses, which is what we want, obviously. So when you initially set the bot up, you have this option here to do take profit and stop loss before it enters a trade. Now, the only options you've got here for stop loss is 5% to 95%. Now, that's normally set at price here, okay? So you're literally talking about, say, a 5% reduction in the price, and that's when the bot will close. You can change that to your profit and loss as well. However, you're still stuck between 5% and 75%. Now that is at a loss. So if you set that at 5%, so that means that when your unrealized loss is at 5%, the trade will close, okay, and you will lose 5%. Now, if that's the way you like to play things, that's fine. I personally let the bot do all that. I don't touch this at all. However, what I would like to do is that when I see the bot in a reasonable profit, I then want to protect that position by setting a stop loss either at break even, or what I prefer to do is to set the stop loss in profit. So if it does go towards the entry, it will actually make a small profit rather than making any loss at all. And that is always the most beautiful way to be in a trade in my mind, because the trade is protected, you're not going to lose money, and you can just relax. So the point being here is if you try to set the stop loss as 0, you can't do it. It says please enter 5% to 75%. However, if you are in a trade already, such as here, for example, we're now 5.15% in profit, you can come to here, and when you set your stop loss, once again you've got a choice: the price, profit and loss in USDT, or the profit and loss as a percentage. So what I'd normally like to do is set that as a percentage, and if, for example, you put in 0, you'll see here that it says when the price reaches 85,043.2 USDT, it will trigger a market order, and the estimated profit and loss will be 2.73 USDT. Whereas, for example, if you set that 5%, which it actually shows correctly here as minus 5%, it says when the price reaches 85,554, it will trigger a market order, and the estimated profit and loss will be minus 13.66 USDT. And of course, what you can do here that you can't do when you initially set the bot up is you can give this a positive number. So for example, 2%. And it will say here, when the price reaches 84,958, it will trigger a market order, and the estimated profit and loss will be 5.46 USDT. Okay, that's pretty cool. I'm actually not going to set that now. I'm going to show you it on the phone now because it's slightly different. Okay, so this is the same BLOFIN account. So to look at the bot trade, we need to go to copy trading and then go to my copies. And then if we go to current positions, first of all, I want to show you the close. So we got this option here, which we didn't have on the browser version. Now, the interesting thing here is that you can do a partial close. Okay, so that is worth noting. I'm not going to do that now. What I want to show you is this little plus sign here next to the TPSL. Now here we can set a stop loss as well, and here we have the choice of price, profit and loss in percentage, and profit and loss as the actual amount. So once again, I'm going to go for profit and loss as percentage. Now this is really peculiar because this behaves slightly different to the way the browser one does. So for example, if I put 5% there, that means minus 5% because that's showing a loss of minus 13. And you don't actually have a way on the keyboard to put in a minus number. Okay, so let's just try it out on the profit and loss based on the estimated profit and loss. So if I was to put in 5, that also means a loss, doesn't it? And again, I don't have the option to put in a negative number. I can put 0, but I can't put in a negative number. So let's just try to put in the actual price. So let's say at the moment, the entry price is 85,128. Remember that we're short, not long. And we're currently at about 84,741. So let's say that I want to set a stop loss at 85,000 flat. Can I do that here? Okay, so I can. So that isn't behaving at all like the browser version does. And also bear in mind here that you can do a partial close as well. Now, just for the sake of the video, I am actually going to confirm that. So if the price goes back up to 85,000, 25% of the position will close, and I should have an estimated profit and loss of about 1 USDT. Okay, so I'm interested to see what that looks like back on the browser. Okay, so I'm back on the bot now, and if I scroll over here, yeah, okay, so you can see here that it's set the stop loss at 85,000, and I can edit this. What you can't edit though is the amount, because you remember I set that amount to just close 25%. So at the moment we don't have that functionality here. Now this is obviously a BLOFIN thing rather than a Stonksy thing, so I'm hoping that it's something that BLOFIN might improve in the future, at least to make the browser version have the same functionality as the app. I don't know when BLOFIN introduced copy trading, but I suspect it's probably a reasonably recent feature. Anyway, it's looking good so far, 4.83% in profit, about $13. Let's take a quick look at the Bitcoin price before I go. Well, this is looking pretty good. I mean, the bot went short at 85,128, which is up here. So the bot caught this drop down here rather beautifully. That's quite impressive, to be honest. And you can do this hands off. Now, if you don't want to mess around with stop losses, then just don't do it. Just let the bot do its own thing. And equally, if you see that profit and you think, actually, that's pretty good, I'm happy with that, take it. In fact, I'm going to do it now. I'm just going to go close all, and it's done. And then you see what I like to do is to change this to that amount there. So it's going to use all my capital for the next trade. So if you are trading with much larger amounts, or if you don't have the appetite for risk like I have, don't do that. And if you want to sleep absolutely comfortably at night, just use smart copy. Okay, so I hope this video has helped to show you some of the flexibility we do have within the bot. If you want to, you can just let it do its own thing and just don't worry about it, don't touch it. But I like to fiddle with things, which is why I thought I'd show you that. If you appreciate that, please do give the video a big fat like. Make sure you are subscribed. Any questions, leave them in the comments down below. And above all, tell your friends.